Donald Trump is panicking as Canada is striking back hard after the Trump regime imposed 50% tariffs on Canada. Canada was ready to go. It hit back earlier today with tariffs on 700 U.S. goods worth $28 billion. These countermeasures will go into effect right after the Labor Day weekend on Tuesday, September 8th. And these retaliatory tariffs are on goods, and they're also on U.S. steel, aluminum, furniture, clothing, video game consoles, smartphones, and other electronics, hitting the Trump regime where it hurts. Donald Trump posted the following. Over the last 10 years, the United States lost on average $60 billion a year with Canada. No more. Canada's been ripping off the U.S. for decades. They've been charging our farmers 400% tariffs and more. They've driven many wonderful U.S. companies out of business. For 10 years, they wouldn't certify Gulfstream jets until I got involved. They wanted 100% of the market for Gulfstream Canadian competitors. I deal with many countries. Canada easily is the most difficult and unreasonable. They feel entitled, but they are not a state and will be entitled no longer. DJT. I mean, the person with the ultimate entitlement, Donald Trump, the fraud, the predator, calling out Canada, which should be our closest ally, and saying they're the most difficult to deal with. So shameful by the Trump regime. Also, Donald Trump today lashing out as Canada strikes back and implements those countermeasures I discussed. Donald Trump's been posting maps of Canada and putting an X through Lake Ontario and calling it Lake America. He goes, the United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, in that we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And by the way, Canada is hitting the Trump regime where it hurts the most. So Canada just released the list of products that it will target with retaliatory tariffs. And it's basically aimed right at all of the vulnerable Republicans in the Midwest and at other key midterm contests. And so, as Greg Sargent explains, Trump's trade war is a disaster for the GOP. So Canada's targeting more than 700 U.S. made products as the trade war escalates. The list extends well beyond industrial goods, hitting everyday purchases such as seafood, cheese, clothing, cosmetics, and toilet paper, with some facing duties as high as 50%. The tariffs on American steel, dairy products, appliances, farm equipment, pulp and paper, and electronics takes effect September 8th. As rates of 15%, 25%, and 50%, with Canada matching the corresponding U.S. tariff rate on each product. Canadian officials said the goal is not to raise revenue, but to protect Canadian companies and reduce U.S. imports. Goods facing 50% tariffs also include some aluminum products, furniture, clothing, and apparel, appliances, dairy products, including cheese, fish and seafood, and certain steel and aluminum derivatives will be facing 25% tariffs. Existing Canadian counter tariffs on U.S. autos will remain in place. Also, the issue also puts pressure on Republicans in the border states of Michigan, Ohio, Alaska, and Iowa, whose main trading partner is Canada. And Canada used a lot of these tariffs to specifically target red states and target areas where Trump and his party are very vulnerable. Meanwhile, you have Brooke Rollins, Donald Trump's agriculture secretary, saying the following. Let's play the clip.
Well, again, I don't want to get ahead of the president. He is, from my perspective, the ultimate negotiator. I've seen a lot of people doubt his decisions, and then I've seen them always work out in the trade realm, especially. And I'm really proud that he's willing to stand up and make the hard decisions. There's no doubt that it causes concern amongst our farmers and ranchers, as it is a lot of unknown out there. But as the group of men and women and communities that have been his most avid supporters from the moment he came down the escalator in 2015, he has our ag producers at the very top of the list. And we've seen this with all of the trade deals. Every one of those 20 new trade deals, whether it's soybeans or cotton or beef or dairy, ag is always at the top, and that's because he has made it so. And I believe strongly that once they finish this next round of negotiations, or whatever you want to call it, that America will certainly be the better for it, and that our farmers and ranchers will benefit the most. So thank you. And last question.
Then Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins was asked, so which specific countries are in talks with the United States to give that mystery frozen beef? You want to give some specifics there? Let's play this clip.
Finish with you.
About the beef imports. What specific countries have been in talks with the U.S. about stepping up those beef imports, aside from Mexico, which you just detailed?
I am not privy to talk about that. I think the conversations are still going on, and that's Ambassador Greer, who's finalizing what exactly that looks like. And I think the president's involved in that as well. Thank you. Yeah.
More from Brooke Rollins, the Agriculture Secretary. Here's what she had to say.
Tree nuts are going to be up. We're really, really grateful. And more deals are being negotiated as we go. So I think it's important to level set that, first of all, that the president has reopened the world to American goods. And from my perspective, American agricultural goods, which is part of the big reason and solution that we need for our farmers and ranchers.
The propaganda is just so atrocious and so awful and so pathetic. On the other hand, here's the Canadian finance minister. Let's play what he said when he announced the retaliatory measures earlier today. Let's play it.
Those tariffs will have real consequences for Canadian workers, businesses, and communities across our nation. Canada must respond, and today we are, in a proportionate, targeted, and strategic way. Today I'm announcing that Canada will match the United States tariffs dollar for dollar, rate for rate. Effective September 8th, Canada will impose counter tariffs of up to 15, 25, or 50% on $27.6 billion in imports from the United States of America. For each product, our tariff would match the American tariff on the same type of Canadian good.
Then we heard from the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. Here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
Well, I think it's a lot of rhetoric because we're the number one customer to 17 states, number 2 to 12 others, Ontario alone. If Ontario was just standalone, would be the third largest trading partner in the world. Canada is the number one customer, and we buy a tremendous amount of goods off Americans. 9 million Americans wake up every single morning to produce a product, a widget, or a service for Ontario. But, we're strong believers in being a sovereign country. And when President Trump wants to attack our sovereignty and attack our businesses and people in Ontario, I can't roll over. My job is to protect Ontario and Canada, and ironically, protecting the American people. President Trump ran on, lowering the cost of goods. Everything's gone up, from homes to fuel. He ran on creating more jobs. Actually, job numbers went down last month, while Ontario gained 52,000 jobs, more than the entire U.S. combined. We have a resilient economy here. We're going to keep going. We're going to continue diversifying the trade, but I feel terrible for the people in the U.S. I always say I love the U.S. I love the American people. But, states like Michigan and Ohio and Texas and Kentucky, the auto states that are manufacturing autos, it's cost the American people and the auto companies $110 billion on these tariffs. We're the number one purchaser of autos off America anywhere in the world, 400% more than anyone. And what's happening now, we're seeing a decrease in Canadians buying American vehicles, which is going to hurt the auto workers.
More from Premier Doug Ford. Let's play it.
Well, Canada has to stand up for their sovereignty. He's not attacking every other country saying that we're the 51st state. That will never happen. Again, we're the number one customer. We buy more goods and products off the U.S. and vice versa, by the way, than anywhere in the world. And I think we need to grow the pie, per se, and create more jobs, more opportunities on both sides of the border. And that's what we want to do. I think President Trump wants to hurt the American people. It's going to cost the Americans up to $5,000 more on automobiles. It's going to cost them a few $1,000s more when these tariffs are impacted the U.S. I know the federal government and the Prime Minister is coming out with, I think it's over 95 pages of tariffs against the U.S., and that hurts the American people. I do not understand why he wants to attack Canada nonstop. We're the closest friends and allies. And make no mistake about it, Wolf, Canadians still love the American people. They love the U.S. They don't see eye to eye with the president by any means, but we love the American people, and I do as well.
And for me, as somebody who grew up in Western New York and Buffalo, right on the border with Ontario, with Canada, it's heartbreaking to see what's going on right now. We love the United States, obviously, but we also love Canada.
And then you've had just the Trump regime officials bumbling and fumbling and mumbling. You had in Michigan, MAGA Republican sycophant Lisa McClain saying the following about Donald Trump's trade war with Canada. Mind you, Michigan is going to be hurt the most. Most states are going to be harmed significantly, but Michigan's going to be particularly hit hard. And Lisa McClain, the Michigan congresswoman, is like, yeah, we support Donald Trump doing this. Really? It's destroying your own state? I mean, how idiotic can you be? Play this clip.
Let me remind everybody that since the 1990s, the Canadians have tariffed our farmers and dairy products at 250%. Since the 1990s. And President Trump has been talking about this leveling the playing field, not to mention that there's a $60 billion trade deficit with Canada. Listen, what President Trump is trying to do, and I applaud him for that, is level the playing field. There is absolutely no way that President Trump is going to make a bad deal for the American people, right? That's exactly why we got out of the EV mandate, right? It would have cost $1 trillion and 200,000 jobs. Yeah. He's not going to make a bad deal for America. He's trying to level the playing field, and it's time for Canada to come up and level the playing field and be a good trading partner with us.
We're now learning additional details also of what was taking place behind the scenes and what blew up the negotiation. I think we already indicated this is what we believed was going to be happening. You had Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary. We haven't heard much of him since he did that fake deposition regarding the Epstein files. Remember, where he wasn't under oath and he refused to be videotaped, and the Trump regime was giving him all of that protection. Well, apparently he showed up in the negotiations regarding this trade deal, and he started imposing all of these unilateral demands and tried to change the terms. So here's what the New York Times reported earlier. Lutnick interfered, and Lutnick said that the U.S. needed approval over future trade agreements that Canada made with other countries. He wanted the ability to change the deal at any time, but only U.S. could change the deal at any time, so that it would always be non-binding as it related to the United States, but binding as it relates to Canada. And Canada's like, why would we enter a deal that isn't binding? And that's why we've heard Canadians refer to this as the pencil and eraser type of agreement. Like you just want to etch it in pencil where you can then erase it. No, we're not going to be doing that at all. So folks, this is where we're at right here. Donald Trump destroying the U.S. economy. We have crude going record highs. You have diesel going record highs. You have, again, people can't afford anything here. And this is the behavior of Donald Trump this morning while he posts images of himself and Kim Jong-un and sends our CIA director, John Ratcliffe, to meet with Putin, whatever the hell was going on there. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you.
Before you go, our book, WTF America, is available for pre-order now. It's the story of how we got here and how we fight our way back. To pre-order, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.